Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vastuta Parinamavad Sheshe Praman Dehe Atma Buddhi E Vivate Rastan Vastuta Parinamavad Sheshe Praman Dehe Atma Buddhi E Vivate Rastan Vastuta Parinamavad Sheshe Praman Dehe Atma Buddhi E Vivate Rastan Vastuta factually Parinamavad transformation of the energy say that say only Pramana proof Dehe in the body Atma Buddhi concept of self A this Vivatera of illusion Sthana place. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Transformation of energy is a proven fact. It is the false bodily conception of the self that is an illusion. Please repeat. Transformation of energy is a proven fact. It is the false bodily conception of the self that is an illusion. Purport. The jiva or living entity is a spiritual spark who is part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unfortunately, he thinks the body to be the self, and that misunderstanding is called vivarta, or acceptance of untruth to be truth. Wow, a situation where I'm totally authorized to allow a child to cry and just go about my business. Sorry, just a little meta commentary there. The body is not the self, but animals and foolish people think that it is. The body is not the self, but animals and foolish people think that it is. Vivarta, or illusion, does not, however, denote a change in the identity of the spirit soul. It is a misconception that the body is the self that is an illusion. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not change when His external energy, consisting of the 8 gross and subtle material elements listed in Bhagavad Gita, Bhumi, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, etc., acts and reacts in different phases. I should repeat that last sentence. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not change when his external energy, consisting of the 8 gross and subtle material elements listed in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhumir, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, etc., acts and reacts in different phases. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Kyan Anjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Pahadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. So the Mayavada philosophy, which is spread by the followers of Shankaracharya, says that the material world is false and only the spiritual world, the spirit, is real, is eternal. Their slogan is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Spirit is real and the material world has no reality or has no connection to spirit. So, although the followers of Shankaracharya himself gave one of the earlier commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, still this is their philosophy. And one difficulty in accepting this philosophy, if one accepts Bhagavad Gita, which the followers of Shankaracharya say that they do, is that in Bhagavad Gita, rather than Krishna saying that the eternal spirit is real and this material world is an illusion, it has no connection to the eternal spirit, rather than saying that, he actually says the exact opposite of that. And he goes to great lengths in 2 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7 and chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, to say how the living entities can actually perceive the Supreme Spirit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and His energies within the world. So rather than saying the world is illusion, it has no meaning, you just simply have to give up the world and don't have any interaction with it, and then you'll again merge back into spirit. Rather than saying that, Krishna says the exact opposite. So it's very difficult to see how one can, really read Bhagavad Gita in that spirit and still come to this conclusion, because Krishna says how he is actually pervading this world, and how the Supreme Spirit, his energies, are actually all throughout this creation. So we know that in the 7th and 10th chapter, we can say, what are some of the things, Arjuna actually asks in the 10th chapter, he says, how can I see you in this world? How can I perceive that Supreme Spirit while I'm still within this material world? And Krishna gives many different examples. So what are some of those examples? You boys say? Anybody say? Taste of water. The taste of water. Right? So Krishna doesn't say, water is material, it's illusion. You cannot at all, they're totally separate, you cannot see the Supreme Spirit in water. Does he say that? No. He says the exact opposite thing. He says, yes, you can see me in water. The taste of water. Krishna says, he's the taste of water. What else does he say? What? Someone else? Our bodies of water, he's the ocean. Exactly. So he doesn't say all of these amazing things, just ignore them, they're just a figment of your imagination, you'll attain Brahman one day and this is just all, realize nothing. He says the exact opposite. He says these amazing things you see like the ocean. He says, you can see me in that. Look at all the bodies of water. We have the different rivers and different dams and different things. And then you go to the ocean, you say, okay, among bodies of water, this is Krishna. This is Krishna. So Krishna says, you can see me. He says, I am pervading this world. So he's saying the exact opposite of this philosophy, actually. Also in first chapter of Ishopanishad, first verse of Ishopanishad, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect and whole, He can create whole other things, whole other existences. but he is still himself whole. So this is the Mayavadi philosophy, is that the conception of the absolute truth is that it is eternal, never changing, Brahman. It doesn't change, nothing happens to it. So if we say that that absolute is somehow connected to this manifestation, then necessarily that decries that fact, that the absolute truth is one. But actually, Isha brings out the point in the very first sloka, because it's Isha Upanishad, so Isha means the Lord, so it's the Upanishad all about the Supreme Lord, is that you can see that he is so full, the Supreme Eternal is so full that yes, he never changes, but he can create something else that's full and complete and never changes, and he still stays the same. Right? 1 minus 1 is still 1 in the spiritual world. So this is another way that we can understand the difference between the Bhakti Yoga philosophy and the Vaishnava philosophy and this impersonalistic philosophy. Also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, text 29, 30, 31, no, text 30 to 33, I believe. The last verse, these are called the seed slokas of Srimad Bhagavatam. The seed sloka means like the whole Bhagavatam is in those four. It's the seed. Just like Bhagavad Gita, the seed sloka. Does anybody know? Seed slokas of Bhagavad Gita? You guys know? Don't know this? Manaji, you must know. I can see you know. Okay, yeah. You want to say which one? Or at least the first one? No. Oh, okay. No, that's right. So the seed slokas of Bhagavad Gita is 10.8, right? 10.8, 9, 10. That's starting with Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mata Savam Prabhatate, right? They're the seed slokas. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is in that. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts, Krishna says. Right? Then he goes on to those who are constantly devoted, serving with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is the seed of Bhagavad Gita. So same way the Acharyas say that the seed of Bhagavatam is these 4 slokas. And the last sloka, and in fact the very last thing, if you look at those seed slokas, the last sloka, the last concept, the last line, is that one has to search for the absolute truth directly and indirectly. Right? Directly and indirectly. So this is exactly opposite. And of course we know that Shankaracharya never commented on Bhagavatam. He felt that he wasn't able to bring out an impersonalistic viewpoint or conception of Bhagavatam, because it's so personal, it's like impossible. So Bhagavad Gita he did, but Bhagavatam he didn't, he wasn't able to. But the Bhagavatam makes very clear there that this idea that spiritual reality is real and everything here is just nothing, it's illusion, just forget about it and you'll merge back into Brahman. This is the opposite of Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam is saying that actually you have to search out the absolute truth directly and indirectly. So what does that mean? Directly means we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're worshipping the deities, we're doing these direct process directly to Krishna. This is a Bhagavat process. And then the indirect, it means everything how we're engaging the material world. So starting with Varnashram, what is our place in society, how we deal with other people. All of these things, they're not directly worshipping Krishna, but they're indirectly. And therefore, this is the important thing, is that the Bhakti Yoga process actually engages the world in Krishna's service, because the understanding is that it is the Lord's energy. It isn't separate from the Lord. Okay, it is not totally separate. So, of course, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is Achintya Beda Tattva. And this means that the Supreme Lord, the Spirit, and the energies they're inconceivably, simultaneously one but different. So it is not that as the impersonalists say, there's the Supreme Lord and then there's Maya illusion totally separate. It is not that. And it is not that they're the same. But they're inconceivably the same and different at the same time. Inconceivably, simultaneously, one and different. So the whole essence of Bhakti Yoga philosophy, as far as philosophy goes, as far as Shanki goes, so much of it for devotees is really trying to understand how is the world different from Krishna and how is it separate from Krishna? How is it different from... same thing. How is it different from Krishna? Becoming Mayavadi. How is it different from Krishna and how is it the same as Krishna? What is it? And Prabhupada uses this everywhere. You can read in one conversation where Prabhupada talks about the animals. And he says, here, Achintya Beda Tattva, you can see it here. This animal has the other animal. So in the same way, they're the same, they're one, they're the same species, but at the same time they're different. So it's a very, very deep thing that actually pervades the world, that the source of energy and the energy is simultaneously one and simultaneously different. The sun and the sunshine, they're simultaneously one. What's the point of saying the sun if it doesn't have so much sunshine? And what's the use of saying sunshine if there's no sun? There has to be a sun. So the source of energy and the energy, they're the same, but they're different. Right? Standing in the sunshine is not standing in the sun. In the sun means you burn up. Right? In the sun. But standing in the sunshine, so they're different. So how they're different and how they're the same. This is the subtlety and the you might say like a spiritual technology that is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is giving this spiritual technology. Most other systems of religion, some of them do have some love of God in there. There's some idea of a personal deity and a love. But even there's a lot of this idea that the way of advancement is giving up material activity. Give up material activity. Don't engage with the world, and then by default, you'll default to the spiritual. But this isn't the Bhakti Yoga process. The Bhakti Yoga process is explained by Rupa Goswami, given in a nutshell. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchate. So bhakti uchate, bhakti is called or bhakti is known when somebody in a service attitude uses their senses, which are of the material world, FYI, of the material world. Sorry to bring lingo into FYI into the Bhagavatam class, but our senses are, now according to the Mayavadis, this Rishikesha that Rupa Goswami is saying is illusion. It's just an illusion, right? Your senses, the whole material world, it's all illusion. It has it's meaningless. It's just like a dream that you have at night. It has no meaning, even less than that. That's their philosophy, but our philosophy is no. You engage that, the false identification of being the body, that's an illusion. That you are, 25 years old, Australian, Indian, US, man, woman, black skin, white skin, all of these. This is an illusion that I am that, or that we are that. That is an illusion. But the whole field is not an illusion. It's connected to Krishna. It's connected through endless streams of karma when we first decided to come into this world and took on different activities, and through that we created this body and this situation of who we are. So it's ultimately connected back to Krishna, our situation now. And we can connect it back to Krishna by our activities, Rishikena, Rishikesha. Taking this material energy and engaging it in Krishna's service. So in this way, the Bhakti Yoga process is how to engage the world, and a part of that obviously is how to see how it is connected, or how you can connect it. How can you connect this world to Krishna? If someone obviously if someone is a sannyasi, or someone's a lifelong brahmachari, they don't get into household life, then there's a lot less they have to connect. There's a lot less they have to try to connect. If someone gets into household life, they have children, they have work, they have job, then the challenge is, how do I connect that to Krishna? How do I connect it? But that's the challenge. But either way, that is the process. I just read recently where Pankaj Jangri Prabhu was saying, there's a quote from him, Pankaj Jangri Prabhu. He's one of the pujaris in Mayapur, one of the original pujaris in Mayapur, if you don't know, most of you will know. And he was quoting, he said, when I first joined the temple, I asked Jayapataka Maharaj, I said, what is the process of Krishna consciousness? Is it a process of purification? And Jayapataka Maharaj said that, no, it's a process of serving Krishna. And he said, that saved me so many years of time of focusing on, it's purification. No, it's serving Krishna. It's how to take this material world and engage it in Krishna's service. Along the way, purification has to happen. We know, if we're not free from the modes, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, Nakankshati Nasochati, Sama Saveshu Bhuteshu, Madbhaktim Labate Param. If we're not free from these modes of nature, if we're not purified, there'll never be bhakti. Because Krishna is free from the modes. How possible we can serve him if we're affected by the modes of nature? Not possible. But that's a secondary thing that happens along the way. But the process is serving Krishna, taking whatever we have and offering it to Krishna, the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So becoming callous to the material world is not our process. This is the process of the Mayavadis. I become callous to the material world. I'm becoming callous, therefore I'm advancing. But for devotees, the process is to serve Krishna. And when they're on the topmost level, just like Yamunacharya said, when I think of enjoyment between man and woman, I spit at this thought, I just have no... That's a symptom. That's a symptom of his advancement. So this is sometimes we, beginning devotees, we can get caught up in this thing that if I make a symptom, therefore that means I've got the disease of it. Let me explain. Just like sometimes a child is not sick, but they don't want to go to school, right? And they say, oh, I feel sick, I don't want to go to school, and they're coughing. So does then coughing mean that they have a cold? They have a flu? No, that's just a symptom. But if they have a cold, will they be coughing? They will be, right? So if they actually have the disease, you'll see the symptom. But just by making the symptom doesn't mean you have the disease. So a symptom of spiritual advancement is that we become callous towards the material world. And of course, it's not callous in a ignorant mode of ignorance way. It's callous in Prabhupada use that word sometimes. Callous in a way of like, just no care. It doesn't interest them. The great devotees, they're not interested anymore. Raghunath Das Goswami, when he wasn't interested in the beautiful family life that he had. He wanted to serve Lord Chaitanya. So in that sense, Prabhupada's pranam mantra Niva Shesha Shunyavadi is there to save the world from impersonalism, but to save us from impersonalism too. To save us, because we have that impersonal thing. We think that by becoming callous towards my family, to becoming callous towards this material world, I'll become advanced. No, that's just like the child coughing. It doesn't want to go to school. That's a symptom of advancement. But by manifesting that symptom and saying I'm becoming callous, that doesn't mean you're advanced. When you actually become advanced, then it'll be seen, and actually you will deal properly. I didn't have a chance, but in Prema Bhakti Chandrika by Narottam Das Thakur, he says this point that as you advance, all of the external things you do better, right? You do better. You do you look after your family better. You look after that thing because the attachment's not there. You see them as a servant of Krishna. That is my duty, to care for them as servant of Krishna, not out of attachment that they're mine. I have to look after them. No, Janaj. So this is the bhakti yoga process, that the callousness towards the material world comes naturally. But just by becoming by becoming callous, by sort of pushing it all away, saying it's all illusory, that's the impersonalist process. That's not our process. That's not our process. Our process is whatever we have, engage that in Krishna consciousness. Engage that in Krishna consciousness. The Sahajya type of mentality is a similar thing. If we analyze it, they show the symptoms. So they say, all right, love of God. When someone has love of God, that means, we know from Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they're perspiring, the tears are coming from their eyes, they're crying, they're shaking, all these things. So that's a symptom. So the Sahajyas also think. Sahajya means easy. If you don't know, Sahajya means somebody who takes it very easily. So in the same way, they say, oh, that's the symptom, love. So if I make the symptom, therefore that must mean I have that. I remember once standing on the conch building in Mayapur on the third or fourth floor and looking down, and there was a whole crowd. I was, what's going on down there? And there was a lady rolling all the way across the courtyard, rolling all the way back and forth. And then finally the security guard came, move on, But all her followers are there, she's got... So in the same way that we devotees don't like manifest callousness and then say, see, now I'm advanced because I'm callous towards my family or whatever. The same way the Sahajya, they manifest these symptoms of love of God and then say, therefore I have love of God. And therefore Sahajyas, they very much like intoxication. They like to take intoxication because it helps them manifest, bhava, manifest this feeling. And so, see, I have these feelings, therefore I must be in love. No, that's a symptom, man. That's a symptom. That's not love of God. That's a symptom you will see. And if you try to make that symptom without having love of God, you're just like that kid who doesn't want to go to school. I got a cold. Nah, he's just showing the symptom. Same thing, right? So like this. So this philosophy of Achintya Bheda Tattva, it's a very deep philosophy. And if we think for a while of all the different spiritual philosophies, we can see how they use this in different ways. And if they don't have this supreme, even beyond Vedic thought, even within Vedic thought, Lord Chaitanya synthesized the 4 Vaishnava sampradayas into this incredible Achintya Bheda Tattva philosophy. But even beyond that, people don't even have much idea. So let me not put down other philosophies, but just explain what I'm saying is that if you think too much on one way or another, you get into trouble. So if you think, okay, God and his material world, they're totally the same, they're totally connected, then you get into this problem, like, why do bad things happen to good people? Okay, the material world, there's so much suffering, there's so much pain and everything, and if God is all knowing, if God is all merciful, and if God is all powerful, then how can that be that people are suffering? Oh, my faith is tested, is crushed. Because how can he know, how can he be all powerful to change it, and how can he be merciful and not do anything about it? So this is where you have to bring in that God is the same as his creation, but he's different at the same time. He's different. He explains, he loves all these living entities. Then they want to leave him, go to this world. He sets it up and then he stands back. And he said, these are the rules. Yai tamam prapadente tam sateva bhajami aham. If you come back to me, I will reciprocate with you. All these different things. He sets up, he makes it clear. He sets it up, but then he's separate. He steps back from the whole thing. He's not directly in God. I can't remember the exact Sanskrit, I should say, but he steps back from it. So in some ways he's the same, it's its energy, but he's stepping back. And another way, if you say that God is so separate, and this is how some spiritual philosophers deal with this issue. They say, oh yeah, God set up the world, but then he's completely separate from it, and he now has no part in it. So there's all these bad things going on, but he doesn't know. It's disconnected from him. It's separate from him. So this is just stressing on the difference. So if you look at spiritual philosophies through this lens of Achintya Bheda Tattva, see how is the Lord the source of energy, and how is energies, how are they the same and how are they different? And of course, in essence, The sameness is in the quality, and the difference is in the quantity. That's the essence of it. Now, just in the last point, they're talking about, using Krishna consciousness, using the material world. If somebody's a householder, obviously he has children, he has family. She has children, she has family. So many jobs, so many things. How to use all that in Krishna consciousness. So also, it's helpful if we think about this in terms of what is connected to Krishna, what is the same as Krishna, and what is different from Krishna. So if we go too much either way, so sometimes we might think, oh, everything is Krishna. Krishna and his energies are the same. So whatever I do, I'm looking after my children, it's spiritual. Right? But is it really? How much of it is spiritual? How much is just our karma, our attachment? That's up for us to think about. Nobody else is going to say, right? It's self-realization. It's not the other guy realization. But it's up for us to think about. Yeah, Krishna, the Lord, and his energies, I'm his energy, they're connected. My activities, my life, how is it connected to Krishna? What bits are connected and what bits aren't? If we say everything's connected, everything we do is spiritual, then what's who's like that? The kami, right? Oh, everything we do is divine, it's my kid, it's my husband, it's my wife, yes, it's wonderful. But where's Krishna in that? And then if we go too much the other way, that nothing is Krishna. Not only service in the temple is Krishna, only going Harinam is Krishna, everything else is Maya. If a man thinks like that, what's the wife going to think? What are the kids going to think? Right? We know it. I have personal experience. The children brought up like that, they have a really hard time. Because they don't understand Krishna. They're little. All they know is something took my mummy and daddy away from me, and that was more important to them than me. And that thing, whatever it is, Krishna, I don't know, it's got something, I don't know about it, because they took my parents away. Right? Sometimes you have to talk about things that aren't very, palatable, but this is the reality. This is the reality of it. So if we think that nothing is Krishna, if we think too much that way, the Abheda, that no, this household life, it's all Maya, that's the process of the impersonalists. That's the Mayavadis process, that it's illusion, it's illusory. There's nothing. That's not our process. That's not the Vaishnava process. And there'll be psychological consequences if we think that, too much on that way. So on one way, if we think too much on one way, yes, everything is Krishna, whatever we do for our kids, then we become like a kami kind of thing, karma, right? And if we think too much like nothing is Krishna, we become like a jnani. Jnana. Anybody heard about that? These are the two problems, karma and jnana. The acharyas say they're like two witches. It's trying to enjoy the world and say everything is Krishna, everything's wonderful, I can enjoy, or it's saying no, it's all illusory, it's nothing, it has no meaning, I totally reject it all. That's jnana. Both of these are not bhakti. They're not, and they're a very lower spiritual technology than the technology of bhakti yoga, which can actually take the material world and engage it in spiritual service. And just like Bhagavatam says, you can take this material body, which is temporary, but attain an eternal benefit from a temporary thing, which is amazing, right? So this, philosophy that's given here by the Mayavadis is more or less the Buddhist philosophy. Is a million philosophies. Go on the internet. There's a billion of them. That basically you'll be happy just by disengaging. But the Vaishnava philosophy, that's a very gross kind of technology. It's just like, well, I don't deal with it, I do nothing, and somehow or another I will attain my, not this, not that, I will attain. It's very gross. But the Bhakti Yoga philosophy is how to engage whatever we have in Krishna's service, and then it becomes purified. The false ego, yes, we are identifying as being, whatever we are, but we take that. We're a big, strong man, okay, we go and lift heavy things for Krishna, and we do amazing things for Krishna. We have a great ability to do art and finer things. Okay, we make garlands and sew dresses. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. If it's engaged in Krishna, that false ego becomes real ego. Becomes real ego. Then it's because it's connected to Krishna. So this is the few points on this verse, which is, I'll just read the verse again. Basically, this verse is pointing out, Lord Chaitanya is pointing out to the Mayavadi sannyasis that transformation of energy is a proven fact. We see it everywhere. We see parents have children, they're still people, but they manifested that. The guru, we see the guru, he takes on disciples, he doesn't change, he's still the guru, right? But his energy is transformed, it transforms the disciple. So all through the world, we see this as a proven fact. And to say that a transformation of energy is just an illusion, it is what I've just explained. So I'll just read this verse again. Transformation of energy is a proven fact. It is a false bodily conception of the self that is an illusion. Is there any quick question or comment? Yes.
Thank you for a wonderful class. We had those when we were growing up.
It takes better late than never.
So I'm wondering, I say to my children that, because sometimes it looks like it's not service, because you go about your life and you're doing your gymnastics or your whatever performances that you do, the things that you love to do. So in order to make that service to Krishna, then your life, Krishna must be at the center of the universe. So if you get up every day and you chant your rounds and you offer your food and you give your day to Krishna because you're actually thinking about him and serving him through chanting and offering, and also telling other people about him. I always would say to them that is you're then offering your practice, your skills, your activities to Krishna. What is that? Because it's not direct.
It's saying if you no, exactly. But Bhagavatam says direct and indirect. Yeah.
And so, then we get the benefit.
It's that point about Sukadeva Goswami says that you can take a temporary thing, a temporary material body, which the Mayavadis say is illusory, forget about it, blah blah. But the Vaishnava, Sukadeva says, no, you take a temporary material body and attain an eternal benefit. So it's about understanding where we are and who we are. Sambandha Bidayam Prajana. If we don't understand Sambandha, who we are, if we're totally attached to everything in the world, but in our mind we're thinking, I'm a sannyasi, I'm in Haribol, where's the Sambandha? You have to understand, this is where I am. Okay, I'm attached to gymnastics, I'm attached to this and that, I've got an 18-year-old body that likes to do gymnastics and whatever. That's not a problem. You engage that. You say, okay, whatever it is, I'm engaging that, but my ultimate goal is Krishna. It's not necessarily that you say, okay, only because I'm chanting my rounds and then this becomes Krishna consciousness. Well, obviously that has to be there. If you're not chanting your rounds, if you're not doing your sadhana, then obviously you'll be overtaken by material energy. But the point is, you have to connect it. And you don't just connect it by saying, oh, because I'm doing all this, then I can do whatever I want. I think Prabhupada made a joke one time. I'm chanting my 16 rounds, I can do every damn thing I want. Different people take that in different ways, but I mean, he said that. But this is how I think about it. I think about my ultimate goal is to attain Krishna consciousness. That's my ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of everyone around me, however I affect them, is for them to attain Krishna consciousness. That means they have to go from where they are here to leaving their body, ante narayana smriti. I have to take them from there to there. So if they need the nappy changed, I have to change the nappy. It doesn't mean that's not spiritual. You understand? But if I'm thinking, oh, this is my child, it will grow up one day, make lots of money, I will sit back and enjoy with the money that they make. And that's material.
So being conscious of Krishna throughout your day and throughout your activities, and not thinking...
That's there, but being conscious... Yeah, that's sambandha. That's sambandha. That's the first, that has to be there. But abhidaya, how are you engaging that in Krishna's service? So your daughter doing gymnastics, that's a stage of life. Even Krishna went to the Gurukul. So it's not, that's the impersonalist idea, that it's like, that is all separate.
Yeah, because then you can say, well, okay, you just have to live in a temple and, sweep the floor and cook in the kitchen and stuff. But you can also do like what you're doing when you have a restaurant.
Well, it's up to
the public. So it's about transforming the activity into a Krishna conscious activity. Is that?
Well, Bhagavatam says direct and indirect. It clearly says that. So direct, and in the purport, Prabhupada says indirect means varnashram. So varnashram is a very big thing. So what you're talking about in the temple, that's the level of sadhana. So Krishna says, just think of me. So if you're Jagannath Das Babaji, Gaurkishore Das Babaji, you just think about Krishna. And you get a disciple who's got a toilet, that you can go and think about Krishna. That nobody will disturb you thinking about Krishna. No, just turn it off, I think. Or hold it down, whatever. So he says, just think of me. If you can't do that, perform the rules of bhakti yoga. So that's in the temple. We're doing bhakti yoga. And then the next level, okay, if that's not enough, and some people, even they get married, but still they're more or less just on the level of sadhana. They're just in the temple doing worship. That's wonderful. And if they can do that, that's great. And some people, they have more passion to go and do that from previous lives. But Krishna didn't tell Arjuna to go to the forest. He said, no, you're a Kshatriya, you've got a nature, there's no use going against your nature. You're going to do that. You will fight. You might as well fight for me. You'll get material and spiritual. So other people say, oh, no, I've got this nature to do that. Okay, then how do you connect that? How do you connect that? And if you're a mother and your kid needs a poopy nappy change, what are you going to say? Oh, no, this is Maya, this is illusion. And if you're a mother and your daughter's 17 and has got so much energy, it's the same as changing the nappy. Or it's the same as, okay, another way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, to perform sadhana, to really meditate on Krishna properly, you have to have different levels of existence properly sorted. First of all, material, you have to have health. Then after that, then you have to have some social situation, some social thing. Actually, to be honest, I can't remember the four, but it's more or less like these four things. There's your physical health, your mental health, that you're peaceful, then social, that you have a family, you have friends and some social situation, and then the sadhana. So you can also think in terms of that verse. You can look it up, Mataji. It's really valuable. That Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was a householder, obviously, so he was very able to deal with a lot of these issues. Within that household, he was dealing with the Queen. Dealing with the Queen. He was dealing with the British, and he said, you can read in his book. He said, "May Queen Srimati, Queen Victoria, live long and preside over India for a long time, because she's doing a good job, and we can sit back and do our bhajan. May she live." There's so many things where like sometimes we think Christian consciousness is like against the government and everything, but in another way, the government is put there by Krishna. It's a representative of Krishna. When the Muslim governor came and Sanatana Goswami was there, all the Brahmins stood up. He was a Muslim cow eater. Why they stood up? Because they saw Krishna, just like we said before, Krishna's manifest among Menai and the monarch. So he's that. So when you get into household life and you get into trying to engage more of the material world, you have to be careful not to have this Mayavadi mentality, or it becomes really painful. There's always another side to it. So you want to see, and Krishna's directly telling us, right? I'm the ability in man, I'm the ability in people. He's not saying man and woman, but the ability in people. So you can say, oh wow, she's doing this amazing thing. Oh wow, that's actually Krishna. Like, that's what we're both meant to do, but both together, direct and indirect together. And we see that, if we see in that way, like Krishna is the monarch, then it doesn't become pushing away. Whenever we're pushing things away, then we think, is this the process? Or am I being a Mayavadi? Like, some things we have to push away. Simple activity. There's a certain level where, okay, that's sinful and it will degrade you. Obviously, that's, yeah.
But someone suggested that George Harrison give everything up and join the temple. Was that correct?
Yeah.
So Prabhu was like, no, you should just keep
stay where you are.
Doing because it's actually a service.
Yeah.
To everyone gets to hear.
Well, it's time. It's about the person.
Yeah.
It's about the person. So there's the philosophy, and then there's the person. So if some famous guy comes and he says, "I want to give up everything," then he gives up everything. Then a week later says, "Oh, I didn't want to give up everything. I want to go back to my friends." Prabhupada knows this, so he says, "No, don't give up everything. Just stay where you are and do something." Serve. So, but it's all individual. Obviously. So Raja, I'm sitting here saying something, but it's Hare Krishna. Is there any other question or comment, Father Senior Devotees? Anything else? Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.